1100s off the line, down into fast right-hand turn 1. At the end of the first lap, guess who was the lead? Kevin Rensell. Reverend Kevin Rensell out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, right there. Bike number 48.
Right, Nick, and what an exciting race it was as Kevin Rensell beat Joe Pittman and Kurt Hall across the line. And the finish of the second 1100 heat race saw a jubilant Bruce Baldus beat Britt Turkington and Mike Smith across the line.
Michael winning, the action starts heating up. Here we take the first heat of the Formula USA action. We're on Chuck Grace's motorcycle looking backward. We've taken a good look at the start. You can see Troy Sorensen, number 70, wheeling. Chuck Graves down into the first turn. Right there's Dale Quarterly on an RC30. Take a good look at Andy Fenwick. There he is right in your back pocket. Joe Pittman right behind him, bike number 171. Heat race action in the first Formula 1 heat. It was exciting.
It was a fantastic first Formula USA heat. And the hard luck story was Scott Russell with a burnout clutch coasting in after the first lap.
And so Iron Man Mike Harth beat Dale Quarterly and Joe Pittman to the checkered flag.
Let's take a look at the second heat race action coming up right here. There's the start. You can see the big boys are in this one. Mike Smith, number 6. Kurt Hall, number 1. Robbie Peterson still wheeling, number 16. Robbie Peterson is on the 500cc Marlboro GP bike, and he becomes the story of the weekend. Fantastic to watch. Mike Smith takes the win right there. Robbie Peterson second, and Kurt Hall in a nice, safe third for the second heat.
We caught a shot of Keith Code giving Scott Russell some much-needed starting instructions following a number of disastrous starts and a burnt-out clutch.
Michael, Keith Code is involved in another important event this weekend at the Weir Grand National Finals, the Motorcyclist Magazine Annual Motorcyclist of the Year Award. Let's turn it over to Art Friedman, editor of Motorcyclist Magazine, and Dick LeDoux, publisher at Peterson Publishing, who flew out to Road Atlanta Grand National Finals to present this award.
Some of what his students have accomplished, specifically Wayne Rainey and Doug Chandler, the world 500cc champion and the American Superbike champion. So Dick has the award here. We really appreciate what you've done for the sport, Keith.
Well, this plaque and this award really mean a lot to me. I guess it puts me up there with Malcolm Forbes and Kenny Roberts, I suppose, if I had...
road racing. Let's have a look at some of this weekend's highlights.
We see number 66 go down in turn 10. He's okay, waves to the crowd. Here's a guy in a potentially dangerous situation. He's blown up his engine in turn 11. Let's hope everybody behind him can see the oil.
We always hope that the riders can see behind, but let's take a look at the effectiveness of hay bales. Are they decorative, or do they actually work?
Well, you can see the man who blew his engines off in the grass. That's a smart move. One guy makes it through. Here comes the next guy right on the racing line, right where the oil is, loses the front end right there, goes down into the hay bales, scatters things, and...
Those hay bales aren't just decorative. He's okay.
Not only hay bales, Keith, he's got a good helmet on, Snell 85, DOT approved, leathers, he's well covered. Here, everybody's slowing down for the red flag, but this one guy doesn't read the red flag and goes wide and crashes, and that's a shame. That man right there simply wasn't paying attention, and in road racing, you've got to be heads up, concentration all the time.
Now let's have a look at the highlights of the 1100 Suzuki Cup race. And what a great start it was.
I've never seen a better race than this. This was fantastic. Keep in mind, folks, these are the best riders in the country on 1100cc motorcycles with exhaust system changes and good tires, a little bit of suspension changes, basically stock, and it's a barn burner. Watch Kurt Hall lead off here. Keith Code, talk to us.
As expected from the heat races, Kurt Hall was going to be right up in front. You know that Kevin Rensell is going to be up front. Britt Turkington, Bruce Baldus is still holding his own in 4th position, and Mike Smith bringing up the rear in 5th position. A fantastic race on the first lap already.
You bet. Joe Pittman's in there. We're going to see Robert Wright out of Provo, Utah come up in there. Mike Smith leads down the hill out of turn 10. This is a great drop-off. Good shot right there. Kurt Hall right in his draft, Kevin Rensell, and then Britt Turkington sniffing for a way around Rensell.
Those 1100s look a little tired to me, Nick. I see smoke coming out of both Mike Smith and Kurt Hall's machines.
It's not an understatement to say these things have been run hard all year. They freshened them up for this race, but these things have been putting down the rubber all year and making these guys a lot of money. I think there's $5 grand for the win on this one.
Look how tight they are right now, Michael Winning, coming down through the S's into the fantastic turn 5 section.
Well, what a great ding-dong battle this turned out to be in front with Mike Smith and Kurt Hall chopping and changing all the way through the end of this race. Some tremendous passing maneuvers here as we see Kurt Hall once again shut the door on Mike Smith. Mike Smith, everything he tried in this race, Kurt Hall was equal to and better than.
Slamming under the Nissan bridge on the last lap, no one's going to catch Kurt Hall. Bike number 60, GSXR 1100, Team Valvoline, followed by Team Valvoline, Mike Smith, followed by Team Valvoline, Britt Turkington, and then Robert Wright up in...
These blisters could have been avoided if he'd worn...
Suzuki Cup final.
Looking over this grid is a who's who in motorcycle road racing of America. Kurt Hall, Mike Smith, Britt Turkington, Michael Martin, Kevin Rensell, Chuck Graves, Ray Yoder. You name it, they're here. This is going to be a barn burner. We've got the Lockhart camera on the back of Chuck Graves' motorcycle.
The flag drops, and they're racing. And look at Kurt Hall get a great start. And Britt Turkington, and there's Robert Wright, not to be outdone, lifting the front wheel. Well, what a tremendous shot this is as they race into the first turn here at Road Atlanta.
It sure is, Michael Winning and Nick Einoch. This is the end of a whole year of battling throughout the United States, through all the WERA regional races. This is the top guys. This is the race. This is where the $5 grand payoff is going to be.
Chuck Graves right in the middle of things. We're looking off the back of his bike. But up front, Kurt Hall takes over from his 1100 duties, leads the 750s race. Tommy Lynch, the Bakersfield Bullet, number 13, right behind Mike Smith, Michael Martin, Kevin Rensell. All the big dogs are here. $5 grand on the line for the win, $3,000 for second, $2,000 for third. Suzuki's paying a lot of money. Someone went down here in the first series of S's. Billingsley is down and out. He's not happy. He's not in the money now. Let's take a look at the action.
Look at all the lines coming into that turn 6 section. Every rider's got his own, jockeying and vying for position in this race, this 15-lap race.
Full field. There must be somehow 40, 45 bikes on this field. This is a full grid, and all these guys have won championships in their district.
Down the back straightaway at Road Atlanta, the draft and pass game is on for lap number 1.
Right, Keith, and have a look at this. The Bakersfield Bullet, Tommy Lynch, has taken the lead and is shot away as they come down into the hole. Mike Smith and Kurt Hall trying desperately to keep up with him.
The lead foursome have pulled away from the pack slightly, with Michael Martin bringing up the tail end of it.
As Tommy Lynch completes the first lap in the lead, let's take a look at our on-bike camera, the Lockhart camera off the back of Chuck Graves' motorcycle. There's Franklin Knight right in Chuck Graves' tailpipe, number 34, coming down to complete the first lap, looking for the inside line.
And they're right behind the leaders, going up the hill and through turn 1, up into the turn 2 section, down into the fast Road Atlanta S's. This is one of the toughest sections of the track. You can't pass here very easily. Some riders say it's a one-line section. These guys are proving it's a one-line section, except for, no, he didn't make it. Mike Smith was going for the Bakersfield Bullet right there in that turn. He didn't cut it.
Well, Tommy Lynch is looking cool, calm, and collected out in front right now, and doing it in great style. He lifts that front wheel going over the hill.
Great shot at Tommy Lynch. Keep in mind, folks, this is kind of a battle of the big guys. Tommy Lynch, Yoshimura mounted, Mike Smith and Kurt Hall from Team Valvoline Suzuki. This is kind of a shootout of the factory teams, huh, Keith?
Oh, definitely. Here they are winding up at Road Atlanta at the Grand National Finals, the big WERA end-of-the-year event. The spectators have poured into Road Atlanta. We've got about 15 to 20,000 people here. And Tommy Lynch, the Bakersfield Bullet, on his Yoshimura machine, knows they're out there. Here we are in the back straightaway, Nick, for the draft and pass.
Mike Smith is making the draft work. He sniffed up the back of Tommy Lynch and went by him and gone down into the hole. We call this the hole here at Road Atlanta. It's a great big compression in the back of the back straight. Tommy Lynch is second place to Mike Smith right now. Kurt Hall comes up the inside, but Lynch holds him off. Smith, Lynch, Hall, this is good stuff.
There's no problems here in the first few laps of this 750 final. It looks like Mike Smith's got it under control, but look what's happening in the backfield. Robert Wright's come up. Rick Kirk has come up, and so has Britt Turkington. They're catching up with the lead pack. Look at Michael Martin with that beautiful inside turn 1 pass.
Michael Martin slashing up the inside in turn 1, goes into second place. That's number 96. He's a 31-year-old out of Texas. He's raced all sorts of equipment from cars to now motorcycles. He has now displaced Tommy Lynch for second place, and let's see if we can catch Mike Smith.
I don't know if anybody's going to catch Mike Smith right now. He's certainly got this race under command. Those guys are stepping on each other's toes. He's on the gas.
I love watching races like this. All the guys on equal equipment. Who's the best rider? It looks like Mike Smith is pulling out a pretty nice lead, but Michael Martin, Kurt Hall, Tommy Lynch, all those guys are right nip and tuck.
All bets are off at Road Atlanta when you get to the back straightaway, though, Nick. And I think we're going to see some action back there. The draft and pass, 2 or 3 guys up in front. Gets a big wall of dead airspace. The rider who's in third in that one really gets the drive off there and could throw that rider right up to Mike Smith with no problem.
Well, Mike Smith is really pretty to watch, isn't he? He's our Formula USA champion for 1990, and he's out there displaying all the qualities and all the skill that has won him that championship this year.
There we see Tommy Lynch looking for the inside off the draft of Kurt Hall, but it didn't work out for him. Kurt Hall is right behind Michael Martin.
Right, Nick, and these guys are doing around, what, 160 miles an hour into that hole? Incredible stuff, and look at that shot of Mike Smith.
Out onto the paint, the slippery paint, down into turn 12, the final turn, using every possible inch of the racetrack, including the curbing.
Keith, let's talk a little bit about what's at stake for these guys. This is the Grand National Final. How important is it to these men?
Well, this race has been gaining popularity over the years. The Wira Grand National Finals is one of the top races in the United States. Scouts come to this thing, as David Sadowski pointed out last year. Riders are picked for teams. Sponsorships are made and lost here at the Grand National Finals at Road Atlanta every year in November.
Looks like Mike Smith is getting some pressure from Michael Martin and Kurt Hall. He had an early lead, but it might be fading away, Keith.
Road Atlanta strategy says don't be leading on the last lap, but here in the early stages of the race, Mike Smith is definitely trying to spread his wings in front of Michael Martin and Kurt Hall, also on 750 Suzukis in this Suzuki Cup final race.
Well, Keith, it seems to me that Mike Smith is able to pull out along the back straight without using the draft, whereas the riders behind him are having to use the draft and just aren't making any impression on him.
Well, you can see him move out there. He was trying to shake Michael Martin out of his draft. That was for sure. He's doing it again. There he is, moving over to the center of the track, back over to the left. Nick, what do you think of that?
Well, that's a classic ploy down the back straight at Road Atlanta. Try to keep the guy out from behind your motorcycle, because if he gets in behind you, he's going to be able to be sucked along in the draft. Michael Martin, though, he's been around the block a few times, and he did pick up Smith a little bit on the back straight. You can see him all piling into it. Smith gets sideways. Martin gets wide. Lynch sneaks under for second. Tommy Lynch gets a free gift in second place.
Smith makes a mistake. The whole field rearranges. Let's look at that turn 11 and 12 section, but from the camera bike.
Well, Keith, here's this battle again with Chuck Graves and Franklin Knight, still continuing as they come down through that corner.
I love that section of Road Atlanta, down the hill and through that fast right-hander. Meanwhile, up front, Mike Smith gets his lead back again. Tommy Lynch, Robert Wright out of Provo, Utah, and Michael Martin. Mike Smith, can anybody catch this guy, Keith?
I don't know. In that turn 1 and turn 2, 3, 4, 5 section, he is the fastest.
He flies through there. He really gets through there and builds a little bit of a lead. Mike Smith trying to keep his cool at the head of this GSXR 750 Suzuki Cup final. This is the fastest guys, and they've got their heads down today.
Well, Mike Smith is still out in front, but Tommy Lynch is trying desperately to catch up. In fact, he's closing that gap.
That's right, Michael. Tommy Lynch on the Yoshimura Suzuki. Yoshimura for years, very famous across the world, around the world for fast Suzukis. Lynch is up there. He's practically going for it.
And we'll be right back. Lynch battling it out for first place, approaching the halfway mark. Let's take a look at the battle for third place here in this race as we see Michael Martin and Kurt Hall. Kurt Hall, number 60 on the inside of Michael Martin, shuts the door, and Robert Wright goes wide off the track.
Robert Wright goes wide, and guess who sneaks under? Rick Kirk, the Oklahoma Shark, sneaks into third place. Make that fifth place, actually. We're looking at the third place battle right now. Michael Martin on the brakes hard and won. We've seen him do that before. Leads out of turn 1 in third place.
Let's have another look at the Lockhart on-bike camera on Chuck Graves' bike, where we see Joe Pittman, number 171, going for the draft and pass. Oh, great work, Joe Pittman.
Meanwhile, Michael Martin down through the S's has got a little bit of breathing space, about a bike and a half on Kurt Hall. That's not enough. Kurt Hall is a tough competitor.
Keep in mind, Rick Kirk, the Oklahoma Shark, 59. The first time he's figured in this race, he's up there with the leaders. Michael Martin and Kurt Hall, they're a couple of the veterans. Rick Kirk is one of the young Chargers. Look for him to keep on charging.
He's closing at this stage of the race, just a little bit past the halfway point. Rick Kirk's got an excellent chance of getting himself into the winner's circle, but so do those other 7 guys out there, Nick.
Oh, there's been a crash.
Joe Pittman out of the Northwest Washington area into the hay bales, out of the race. We're sorry to hear that, especially after we saw him on the on-bike camera.
Michael Martin and Kurt Hall playing the draft and pass into the whole game at Road Atlanta. Who will come up the hill first?
Michael Martin with an interesting line out wide. Kurt Hall up on the inside. Let's see what happens on the brakes. Kurt Hall on the brakes in turn 11 under the bridge. Got Michael Martin. Hall sits in third place. That's $2,000 in cash if he can hang on to it. Rick Kirk sits right with Michael Martin. It's going to be a showdown right to the last lap.
Exactly right, Nick, as we see the white flag out. And now the big question must be, can they catch the Georgia Jet? Mike Smith out in front.
Forget the Georgia Jet. These guys are fighting for the $2,000 in third place. This is no trivial race. This is $2,000. That's going to buy those guys a nice plane ticket home, another set of tires.
Exactly. Look at the Georgia Jet and the Bakersfield Bullet. We like to call these guys because they ride fast. Mike Smith ahead of Tommy Lynch. Tommy Lynch is going to have to do something very exciting here to get Mike Smith. Mike Smith is in control.
Exactly, Nick. Well, while all this is going on up front, just have a look at the battle that's going on further back in the field. Everybody wants to be in a top 10 finish. Look at these 6 races. They've been up there all day in that tight group. You've got Mark McDaniel, Dean Misdell, and Jason Pridmore, just to name a few. Fantastic racing.
Exactly. Everybody wants to do well at the Grand National Final.
Let's go back for a second and take a look at that fantastic dice. On the last lap for third place, Kurt Hall, Michael Martin, Rick Kirk.
Down the back straight, the draft and pass is working. Michael Martin sticking as close as he can to Kurt Hall. He's going to try to pick a spot to zip out around him. And meanwhile, Rick Kirk is getting the benefit of a two-bike draft, and he's got plans himself.
Right, Nick, just look at these guys. What a ding-dong battle this is. Oh, look at Michael Martin. He's gone wide into the hole. This will set him up badly for the bridge turn.
Michael Martin is risking everything on the brakes. It doesn't work. Kurt Hall leads down the hill for third. Martin is wide, and Rick Kirk goes underneath for fourth place.
And so Mike Smith will take the checkered flag from Tommy Lynch, with Kurt Hall, Rick Kirk, and Michael Martin finishing in fifth spot. A jubilant Mike Smith waves to the crowd. The following Wera 600cc Superstock event is brought to you by Del Amo Motors, the performers. And they're racing, and look at Rensell and Turkington get the front wheels up in the air, doing monos off at the start. And what a race it is for the whole shot. Let's see who gets it. It looks like Britt Turkington, the Texas Tiger, has taken the lead into the first turn.
Let's just hold on this shot for one moment and watch the second wave. This will be the 600 production machines coming through right now.
Just to illustrate how many classes run here at a Weird Grand National Final, we've got races all day long, a couple of heats, a couple of different waves. It's good stuff. But up front, Britt Turkington versus Kevin Rensell. I thought this race would come down to these two guys.
Well, here we are again, Nick. The Suzuki versus the Yamaha. The Suzuki's down on power. The Yamaha's way up on power. The Suzuki hasn't been developed for a couple of years. It's a handler, but no power. Rensell got by.
Oh, great pass, Kevin Rensell, but look at Turkington. He's not going to stand for that. That stuffs Rensell into that corner. This is great stuff early on in this race. Rensell trying to get through on the inside. Oh, fantastic stuff. Oh, look at Rensell. Unbelievable. It looks like he's crowding Britt Turkington.
Crowding nothing. He ricocheted off of Britt Turkington on purpose. That was an intimidation move if I ever saw one. What do you think, Nick?
I don't think Britt Turkington liked that one little bit. These two are out with a firm lead. I don't think Turkington wants to get taken out. Rensell likes to put an elbow or a knee on you just to kind of let you know he's there, but that one was a little bit harsh.
Well, it looks like we're going to have to rename him Ricochet Rensell after that little effort.
That's a good one, Michael Winning. As we suspected, the Yamaha FZR 600 leads the Katana 600 down the back straight. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, Road Atlanta is a horsepower track. Too many straightaways here for a slow motorcycle. And we're seeing bike number 48, Kevin Rensell, pulling away a little bit.
Turkington in second. Titian Bowie, the Northeast rider, making a name for himself. Franklin Knight going underneath him into turn one.
Titian Bowie and Franklin Knight definitely having a ding-dong battle. Britt Turkington, the Team Valvoline Suzuki Endurance rider, is very good on the brakes. He is very good on the brakes and very good in the corners. He's going to try to keep Rensell in sight, but I've got to think that long back straightaway is going to be his downfall.
Well, fair dinkum, Nick. I tell you what, it looks to me as though Britt Turkington is a little bit wary of Kevin Rensell right at this minute. He's just going to hang back in second spot and wait for his opportunity and keep as far away from Kevin Rensell as is necessary.
Michael, what is fair dinkum?
Funny as it may seem, Keith, it means the honest truth.
Well, the honest truth is that Kevin Rensell is leading this 600cc Superstock Wera event here at Road Atlanta.
Kevin Rensell, Forbes Racing #1 rider. We've seen him in the last couple 600 Supersport races here at Pocono, a couple other places. He always does well. He's always up in front. If he's not leading, he's sitting in the draft. He's always waiting to win things, and he wins more than his share of races. He bounced off Britt Turkington a little bit earlier. We've got to forgive him for that one, I guess, because now he's putting together a super clean, super smooth race.
Oh, Nick, have a look at Turkington. He's just been passed by Titian Bowie and Franklin Knight. Boy, talk about get the scares out there.
Exactly. That 600cc Katana just is not going to run with those boys, and they went by him like a locomotive.
Taking the advantage of the draft down into the hole on these 600cc machines, that's about 150 miles an hour. 150 miles an hour on slightly modified street bikes.
Not too bad, Keith. That's a lot of fun. I remember years ago you couldn't get 150 miles an hour out of a 1,000 barely.
Well, you could if you dropped it off a cliff.
There you go. Now it's a matter of who can catch Reverend Kevin Rensell out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Franklin Knight, Titian Bowie, Britt Turkington. They're going to give it their best shot. I can guarantee you that. This is the Grand National Final, folks. Everybody's here watching. You got to do well here.
You can see Turkington holding his own through the infield, a little better than holding his own. In fact, he's catching up in that section, but that's not going to cut it because the back straightaway is coming up in just 2 more turns.
Franklin Knight holds second place out of turn 5, up over a couple of rises, then down this short little hill right here. Titian Bowie slips out of the draft up the inside, down into turn 6.
this race. Kevin Rensell continues to lead from Tishan Bowie and Franklin Knight.
John Choate has moved up into 4th place. The first time we've seen him all year long. Bike number 190 on a Yamaha, of course. He's right there in the draft with these guys.
John Choate taking over 4th place, with Britt Turkington bringing up the tail end of that three-way battle for 2nd place.
Poor Britt Turkington. It looks like a stream of Yamahas that they just never end coming by him. Come by Suzuki. He's getting pressured again. Watch Tishan Bowie down into turn 11. Bowie, Franklin Knight, and John Choate. This looks like to be the race right now for 2nd place. Rensell's out of touch at this point. Michael winning.
Yeah, Ricochet Rensell, Nick, has really taken off out in front there. Tishan Bowie, and look at Franklin Knight. What a great battle this is.
Looks like Knight's turning in a little bit early, going for the pass. He does, and he makes it right in front of Bowie, going through turn 1 up the hill.
Not an easy place to pass, Keith. Very bumpy. Looks like Tishan Bowie's going to try to... No, didn't quite do it into 2. There'll be a very sharp right-hand 3 right there. That's a tough place to go by in turn 1. Very bumpy.
Rensell through the frame, down into the turn 3, 4, 5 section. Bowie holding on to 2nd place, doing a beautiful job. Franklin Knight in 3rd, and our friend, the newcomer to the front ranks, John Choate in 4th place.
Congratulations to John Choate for running so well. He comes under a little bit of pressure from Britt, but as soon as they hit the straightaway, Britt's all but forgotten.
Oh, look at this, Nick. Here comes John Choate down the outside trying to take over from Franklin.
Exactly, Franklin Knight. Michael, I think he got him. Also, Tishan Bowie may be the next one on John Choate's list. Rensell through, nice and smooth, though it's very bumpy. He's up on the curbing, tucked in tight, trying to cheat the wind. He knows he's got a nice lead at this point. He's getting pit signals. He's got it pretty well sewed up.
Kevin Rensell, actually a late comer to the 600 Superstock Wira events this year. Started into the season about the 6th or 7th race. Not there deep enough into the season for him to gain enough points to be the champion. But when he shows up, he is fast.
You bet. He's fast. He takes chances. He seems to do pretty well. He's riding hurt right now. He's got a sore right elbow, I believe, from a crash about 2 weeks ago. He's riding a little bit hurt, but he told me earlier he forgets all about it when he gets on the racetrack. It hurts for the first couple laps, and then his concentration is so sharp on what he's got to do, he forgets all about it.
Well, those big eyes on his helmet must probably parallel the way he feels sometimes when he's riding his motorcycle, huh?
That's right. The big eyes, of course, Keith refers to is what happens when you go in the corner a little bit too deep. Your eyes get so big they about bug out of your face shield. Kevin Rensell knows that feeling, I'm sure. He runs very hard. He takes some chances.
We'll just have a look at the track coverage from Kevin Rensell. He's using every single inch of this track and doing it in fine style.
You bet. He's got beautiful lines. He's as smooth as anyone we've seen, I think, today, but yet he has the ability to get rough. He has the ability to throw a few elbows and a couple knees, kind of the Dale Quarterly style of riding. Wouldn't you say, Keith?
I would definitely say so, but here's the race for 2nd place coming in. It looks like John Choate is setting up to try to make a pass on Tishan Bowie. Can he make it? He's low, not low enough.
Bowie gets in there very nicely, and he holds the right line, so he gets out a little better than Choate. Let's see what happens on the back straight, watching Rensell, Bowie, Choate, and then Franklin Knight, who's lost touch a little bit. Let's see how Tishan Bowie and John Choate's bike run out down the back straightaway.
I don't think Franklin Knight is really close enough to stay in the draft of the two front runners there going for 2nd place. I think he's just slipped back just a little bit too much. After 5 or 8 bike lengths, you can't make it, and he's moved out of the picture now.
I agree, exactly right. I think right now John Choate is sniffing for the draft of Tishan, but he's not even in Tishan Bowie's draft. Bowie's got a good running motorcycle, ladies and gentlemen. Bike number 55 left 190 in the dust, pushing its own air. Tishan Bowie's got a very nice running motorcycle. I think that may be his ace in the hole in the last lap.
He's been here before. He's been invited to these Wira Grand National Finals because of his fantastic finishes. He has done very well in racing this year.
Okay, Keith, well, at this late stage of the race, the lap traffic's going to play an important part in it, isn't it?
Most definitely. Here we go down to the closing stages. These guys are racing with each other. In some cases, they're slowing each other down. Right now, they're cutting across their lines. It looks like they're weaving the cord, going down through the S's.
As we watch Kevin Rensell exit the frame in front, we've got Tishan Bowie 2nd. There's John Choate 3rd, pushing hard on Tishan Bowie. And behind him, we've got Franklin Knight and Britt Turkington rounding out the top 5.
Britt Turkington sliding slowly backwards in this field of Yamahas. I remember the day when the Suzukis would run right with them or neck and neck with them, but not on a fast racetrack like this. John Choate looking up the inside of bike number 55. They're coming up on lap traffic. Let's see how that works out. Tishan Bowie has to follow that lap rider through bike number 55. Choate goes on the outside. Where's Bowie? He's up the inside. Good move by Tishan Bowie. You can tell that man's been around a racetrack a few times. Nice move. Use that back marker and retain 2nd place.
That was perfect strategy for turn 7 going onto the back straightaway, Nick. As Bowie was running up the inside, Choate was stuck behind the back marker.
Interesting here, though. John Choate now looking for the draft. He's probably going to try to do a little bit of a slingshot down from out of the hole into turn 11 on the brakes. Let's see how this works out. He hasn't quite run with Tishan Titian Bowie's bike just is simply running better than John Choate's. Choate can't run down through the hole with him. Bowie again leads into turn 11 simply because his bike gets down the back straight through the hole so nicely.
At this closing stage of the race, here we have the white flag going out for Kevin Rensell and our fantastic duel for second coming up along here. Now, this is the lap that counts. This race for second place is going to go down to the back straightaway, and Choate does not look rattled to me, Nick.
Very, very calm and controlled, especially for a young rider. He knows he's got third place, and I hope he's thinking third place is pretty darn good in a field like this. I hope he doesn't do anything stupid trying for second place, but we'll see what happens as it works on down. Bowie's got a fairly nice lead, but he has no hopes of catching Kevin Rensell.
It's interesting to watch Choate ride out there. Again, my observation is that he looks like he's riding very calm. Bowie, also a calm rider, used to the winner's circle himself. But Choate, not so used to the winner's circle. I would expect this rider to be making more mistakes on the last lap.
Well, good for him. We look forward to seeing him next year when we come on back with the Pro Series, definitely for sure. Forbes Racing, Kevin Rensell, the Rever from Chattanooga, Tennessee, exiting turn 7 onto the back straight one last time. Nothing sideways, nothing foolish, tucked in, takes a look behind him and sees absolutely nothing. Or as Michael Winning would say, he sees daylight in second place.
Right on the money there, Nick, as we see Rev and Kevin Rensell, actually we've renamed him Ricochet Rensell, doing it out in front, doing it easily in fine style. He's going to go on and win this race. No mistakes now from Kevin Rensell.
Down into the hole, the very fastest part, these 600s touch about 150 miles an hour. He's got a lap rider in front of him, but that's going to be no problem. He's going to follow him to the checkered flag. Bike number 48, Kevin Rensell, for the win of the last Pro Series 600cc Superstock race.
And let's have a look now as we watch Airborne. Al Wilcox waves the checkered flag. Kevin Rensell, a jubilant Kevin Rensell. Let's have a look in second, Titian Bowie, and there's John Choate. Well done, John Choate, in third.
Tired of trying to tie down vinyl plastic sheets?
Motorcycle Institute, the international choice for motorcycle technicians. Michael Martin, Jason Pridmore, and Kurt Hall make up our front row here today. As we wait for the flag, there goes the flag now, and they're racing. And Kurt Hall, and it looks like Michael Martin got the best of it. Let's see who wins into this first turn. It's going to be Michael Martin, leads him into the first corner and gets the whole shot.
Michael Martin's really been doing a great job this weekend at Road Atlanta as we watch the B production machines coming off the line here in this second wave.
Keep in mind, folks, production machines are just that. They're just off the showroom. You can change the suspension and the tires. Superstock, what Martin is leading right now, you can change a few more things. Put a pipe on it, jet it, make it work a little bit better, a little bit faster, and Michael Martin's got his working awfully well today, it looks like.
Now, he's locked in battle right now with Kurt Hall, who's an expert at this racetrack. Who is that? Dean Misdall off the track, Nick?
Looks like Dean Misdall just ran off the track there, Keith. And so we've got Michael Martin, Kurt Hall, and Britt Turkington. Well, I tell you what, Britt Turkington looks a lot more comfortable in this race, doesn't he, knowing that Kevin Rensell's not there?
No surprise, Britt Turkington's right there. He's very good. Let's see who's out in fourth place. What do we've got there? Jason Pridmore, Todd Hogue, and then Franklin Knight, Trip Nobles. Great racing. We've got a great field. It's too bad to see Dean Misdall there now bringing up the tail end. That was one of his best placings, fourth place on the first lap. He went off the track. Too bad for Dean Misdall out of Southern California.
The lead three have broken the draft. They're out away from the pack. We're looking at the lead now, right now coming down into the hole. It's Michael Martin trying to get a pass on the inside. He stays. Let's see what happens when they come up over the hill. It's Michael Martin going in. Kurt Hall trying to get around. Looks like he's going to try to go to the inside pass. He's done this before. Martin's lost 2 places here before this week, and he takes it. Hall takes it going into turn 12.
Boy, I hope Michael Martin goes to school a little bit there on the first lap. He's been given a break that this isn't the last lap. He's been going wide in turn 11, and people have been sneaking under him all day. He gets it back in turn 1. He's awfully good in turn 1, the very bumpy, hard on the brakes one, but he's got to learn a little bit of something about turn 11, or he's not going to win a race.
Well, just have a look at these three guys going flat out so early on in this race. This is tremendous racing.
Now, if we watch Britt Turkington, he's in third place right now. He's trying the inside on practically every turn. It almost looks like that is his line of choice. What do you think, Nick?
Well, we commented about this at Phoenix, how Britt likes to turn the bike a little bit early. He's very hard on the brakes. He can use the brakes nicely while leaned over. I'm not so sure I like the inside lines, but if Britt can make it work, that's one thing. I don't know about going by Michael Martin and Kurt Hall, 2 of the top riders in the country, on the brakes. It's not going to be easy.
Well, it looks like when he's in the fray and working this turn 7, he's running on the same line that they are. Getting the drive onto this back straightaway is super important. To hang in this draft means the difference between win and lose. And there goes Hall.
Geez, yeah, there goes Hall around the outside, slingshotting on Michael Martin. What a great pass. And it looks like Britt Turkington trying to get through on the inside, but doesn't make it.
He makes it. He's in second place now. Michael Martin's relegated to third.
Britt saw Kurt Hall make his move and said, I'm following that man. I'm following my teammate, and went right by Martin. But Martin, I think, is going to sit back a little bit. Keep in mind, folks, Michael Martin, 31 years old. He's been around the racetrack a few times. He knows what's going on. He's going to sit back and see how the pace works out. All of them up onto the paint. They don't have much limit left. These guys are right at the limit.
There goes Turkington for the inside pass, and he makes it. Gets through underneath Hall in turn one. Stays on the inside of that patch because that's a rough part.
Oh, talk about chopping and changing early on in a race. This is incredible stuff from these guys. You can see sparks flying out there.
Exactly. Britt Turkington grounded out his motorcycle. It sparked a little bit, probably from his exhaust system. Something steel touching down there in the last corner that we saw. Britt Turkington, I think, is coming into his own on the 750. He hasn't ridden it that well all year, but keep in mind, he is the points leader in GSXR Suzuki Cup racing. He knows how to ride these GSXRs.
And the man in third could easily win this race. These 750s are fast down the back straightaway. They pull a big draft down the back straightaway. Michael Martin and the other two 750s out there are making over 160 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway going into the hole. They've got to stay tight, though. They can't let Turkington get away.
And so we've got the Texas Tiger, Hurricane Hall, and Machine Gun Martin. 1, 2, 3.
As we approach the halfway mark, it looks like Britt Turkington, the Texas Tiger, as you pointed out, Michael Winning, is making a little break. He has pulled away just enough so that the draft is not effective for second place.
Oh, big wobble by Kurt
shake
Hall.
on Kurt Hall. Did you see that, Nick?
That's exactly where the bike has to work. Coming down into the dip, you're changing from a right-hander to a left-hander. You're flat out on the gas tank. Your bike has to work perfectly. Britt Turkington just yanked about 6 or 8 bike lengths on Kurt Hall right there in the dip.
Well, the sparks are flying and the wheels are wobbling out here in front. This is incredible stuff.
Britt Turkington is not going to have much problem if Kurt Hall keeps wobbling around like that, because Michael Martin is not getting around Kurt Hall. Kurt Hall's holding him up, it looks right now. Michael Martin, bike number 96 out of Texas, has to get by Hall if he has a chance of catching the Texas Tiger out in front.
And just have a look at the Tiger out in front. Daylight is definitely second here today. Incredible racing.
Coming back from a very disastrous mid-season crash at Grattan Raceway, the last lap of that 6-hour endurance race, it took the Texas Tiger, he was calling himself the Texas Tumbleweed after that. It took him a while to come back, to be completely healed. But as we can see at this last race, the Wera Grand National Finals, Britt Turkington is on the gas, head down under the bubble, and he wants to win this one.
Turkington is back with a vengeance. Let's take a look back in the field a little bit. There's some great racing going on. There's Jason Pidmore, Todd Hogue, Bowie, Yoder, McKissick, Martone right there. This is great racing. I love this stuff. Keep on going.
Well, Nick, just have a look here. We've got Steve Patterson passing Robert Wrublewski on the outside. What a great pass that was.
You bet. Wrublewski tries to come back under. Keep in mind, Patterson's on his 600 in the 750 race, so there's good action everywhere.
Here we are back to the race for second place. Kurt Hall still holding his own against Michael Martin. Martin has not figured out the magic key to get around Kurt Hall. Kurt Hall's a little more experienced on this racetrack. There's no question about that. But they both just finished a 6-hour race not 2 days ago. They know their way around. They know every inch of this racetrack. Hall's got the power on him.
Let's do a little betting. Is Michael Martin sitting back there waiting for Kurt Hall to run his tires out and get a little bit worn out and then put a move on him? Or can Michael Martin not summon up enough speed?
Well, he may be able to summon up enough speed, Nick, but Kurt Hall is looking a little rough on his motorcycle. Can't tell whether it's tires, suspension, or just him being tired towards the end of the day.
I'll tell you what it is. He's seeing Britt Turkington get away from him. He's saying, I've got to get this thing going. He's harder than we've seen Kurt Hall push.
And we'll be right back. Second place as we see Kurt Hall still leading Michael Martin.
Kurt Hall can't even see Britt Turkington right now. He's going to have to wait till he gets on the back straight to get another look at bike number 28. Meanwhile, he's getting out of this back straightaway as well as he can, getting out of bumpy turn 7. He wants to put some distance on Michael Martin.
Nick, we've got word that Stevie Patterson's bike is blowing some water around the track coming up in turn 11.
Oh, Keith, there it is, and oh my goodness, he's come down. Oh, Stevie Patterson, what a tragedy.
That's pretty amazing. Let's take a look at that, a replay. We can see the water coming out and getting his rear tire goes right there. Motorcycle tire just does not like water on a dry pavement. Down he goes, sliding. He's going to be okay after that one, but the bike flips, and it's going to need some work.
Back to Kurt Hall, holding down second place and doing a nice job. Britt Turkington moving through in the closing stages of this event. Confident, smooth, having no problems except for those back markers that are coming up on him, but I don't think they're going to slow him down a bit. Turkington moves through traffic very well. He's got a big lead on second place, Kurt Hall.
Oh, Nick, have a look at this. We've got a UFR in the back traffic, an unidentified flying rider.
Yeah, who is that? Bike number 65. We don't have him listed on our grid sheet. He's up and okay, though, running over to his motorcycle, getting out of the way of people. He's going to try to pick that up and refinish.
Let's have a look at that on the replay. Keith, what happened?
It definitely looks like he grabbed a big handful of gas. You can see it by that black stripe there. He got it leaned over and just too much gas and spun it out almost high-sided. He was lucky.
Meanwhile, our leader, Britt Turkington, working his way through traffic, coming up on that crash site. That's got to be a little bit scary for him, working through these riders as they're crashing all over the place.
That's right. He wants to finish this thing in the position that he's in right now with no traffic around him. He's in first. He's way out. He's got about a 6-second lead right now. That's going to be very difficult for anybody to take away from him.
Exactly right, Keith. Now, let's just have a look at that mid-pack dice we were showing you earlier on in the last lap of this race. And it looks like it's number 34. We've got Franklin Knight, Jason Pridmore, Trip Nobles, and Tishan Bowie, and what a great battle that's been.
As this battle, Lexus turn 7, Britt Turkington, the Texas Tiger, takes a well-deserved win. Second, 60, Kurt Hall right there. And third, a little ways back, number 96, Michael Martin.
And the winner of our mid-pack dice is going to be Trip Nobles, Jason Pridmore, Tishan Bowie, and there's something wrong with Franklin Knight's bike by the look of it.
Good racing.
Highlights of the 6-hour Kirker SBS National Endurance Series are brought to you by Barnett, makers of the world's finest clutches and cables, and Lockhart, the sport bike connection.
It was business as usual right off the start. Team Suzuki, Mike Smith, bike number 1, takes the big lead. Holland Still, bike number 5, and bike number 2 put on a show for this huge crowd, capacity crowd here at Road Atlanta. It's fantastic racing. Mike Smith, big lead. Number 2, the Human Race Team, Andy Fenwick aboard. And before you knew it, a red flag came out, stopping the races right there. Al Wilcox brings everybody to a halt just like last year. Did it again. Another start. Big lead for Team Suzuki. Closely followed by bike number 2, the Human Race Team on the Yamaha. And before you knew it, another red flag. A big field made a lot of stops. Again, a lead. Kurt Hall leads Fritz Kling on the Human Race Team. And up into third place is Boulder Yamaha Bike 45.
We interviewed Jeff Covington from the Plum Crazy team, Weira's youngest rider.
Yeah, we had a pretty good race. We had a couple problems with the bike, handling problems, but for there, we did pretty good.
Team Suzuki Valvoline, the most successful endurance racing team in the United States. Part of their tale is a tale of technology, and we're going to take a look at some of that right now.
Formula USA road racing is all about horsepower and speed, but there's some new brake technology we need to talk about right here. Performance Machine has developed a 6-piston caliper. This replaces the 4-piston caliper previously used by Mike Smith, Kurt Hall, all the fastest riders. This is the caliper off Mike Smith's bike. As you can see, 3 pistons per side, pushes a very long disc of brake pad in here. This allows for superior stopping power. Team Suzuki can use a smaller disc, which cuts down on reciprocating mass, but yet still have the stopping power of the large disc.
Our congratulations once again to Team Suzuki Valvoline, a great team effort in winning this year's championship.
Now, what do the world champions of motorcycle road racing do in their off time? Well, we caught up with Wayne Rainey, current reigning 500cc world champion. And
USA racers do in their spare time? Well, this is it. You're looking at it. They race motorcycles. Radio-controlled motorcycles, and from the look of it, they don't do it very well.
Exactly. The first 2 guys off the line crashed into the barrier. They're over in flames. These guys have crashed these things more times than they've ever fallen down in their lives. Kurt Hall's laughing. That's because he's winning. He's beating Rich Oliver, and when it comes right down to it, Kurt Hall takes the win.
Something I'd like to point out is, being lucky enough to come here to Road Atlanta and see the Weira finals here, is just how impressed I am by the ability of the guys who race in the Weira Championship, especially in Formula USA. And I'm sure that the guys like Mike...
And now, the main event. We've got Mike Smith, Mike Hart and Robbie Peterson on the line. The flag drops, and they're racing, and there's trouble straight away. Mike Smith's bike has stalled on the line. And, oh, look, this is sensational stuff. Scott Russell is starting from the pit road because he missed the warm-up lap due to a clutch problem.
Exactly right, Michael Winning. We've got early drama right now. Scott Russell at the back of this 36-rider field. We're looking off the back of the Superbike camera on Chuck Graves' bike, Andy Fenwick right there. I just got word that Mike Smith will not start the race. He's pushed his bike off to the side. Mike Smith is out of the race. Our Formula USA champion is not here today.
Well, Nick, lots of drama early on in this race as we look at John Hopperstadt there, 98, and Kevin Rensell right behind him. What a fantastic shot that is.
Chuck Graves on 1100. Hopperstadt can't quite run with him on the 750 down the straightaways.
Here we are coming now to turn 5, the short straightaway there, Wheelie Hill going into turn 6. There we're back on the Superbike School camera with Hopperstadt coming onto the back straightaway in turn 7. Graves has got some power in that bike. He's moving along the back straightaway at a terrific clip. Look, he pulled away 5-6 bikes.
Exactly. Hopperstadt's on a Yamaha OW01. Of course, Graves on the GSXR 1100. He's been campaigning all year. Up front, GSXR, Yamaha, and right behind them, a Yamaha 500. That's the real story here. Talk a little bit about what Peterson's on, Keith.
The GP bike, the 500cc Grand Prix bike, Wayne Rainey's, they call it a B bike, but it would be an A bike in anybody else's book. That's a 185-mile-an-hour missile, and Robbie Peterson has got to race that thing. He was looking forward to that ride at Indy, didn't get it. He's back here with a vengeance. He's been coming along all weekend, getting used to that machine. Look at Scott Russell!
Scotty Russell making up ground in the back there. Let's have a look at the order. It's Kurt Hall in front, Mike Hart, Robbie Peterson. It looks like Kip, Quarterly, Kling, and Graves.
As the leaders make their way up over into the turn 2 area, going down into through the S's, we take a look back on Chuck Graves' machine. Look, Tatsura Arata is coming up through the field.
The gun boy, the winner at Topeka, right there, bike number 77. He got by Hopperstadt, but Graves seems to be holding his own. Let's see how he does down through the S's. He's doing fine. Chuck Graves with the camera bike.
Kurt Hall, number 1, the defending champion at Formula USA, except that Mike Smith has taken it away.
Exactly. He's going to have to turn that over, but I love those motorcycles lifting the wheels out of turn 5. It's fantastic action. Kurt Hall bends it into 6, grabs all the brakes he can find for 7, and slams it hard into 7.
Leaders are cranking early on. There's another. Here comes Scotty Russell. Look at this. He's gone past Hopperstadt. Unbelievable. Oh, boy, it's just as well Chuck Graves doesn't have eyes in the back of his head. What a sight that is.
Let's see how that 750cc Muzzy Kawasaki does on the back straightaway against an 1100cc machine.
Boy, Scott Russell had his head down behind the bubble. I think that 750, they've got it running well enough to run right with any 1100 at this racetrack. It doesn't come out of the corners as hard, but when it gets cranked up and revving, it's good on top speed.
The top 3 have broken away from the pack just a little bit. Kurt Hall is moving out there. He's still looking a little bit rough. Mike Hart is right on him, and Robbie Peterson is not letting either one of them get out of sight. He wants to win this race. He wants to go home with a win for Kenny Roberts.
Well, once again in Formula USA racing, we're seeing lots of thrills here. This is incredible stuff. Great racing.
CCs, 1000 CCs, and 500 CCs are your top 3 machines. Suzuki, Yamaha, and Yamaha, but a very special Yamaha in 3rd place. The 500 CC GP machine, about 250 pounds, about 160 horsepower. Against one of these other machines, about 375 pounds, maybe the same horsepower, Nick.
That's right, Keith. Kurt Hall and Mike Hart, they're on big motorcycles, but boy, they get out of the corner as well. They have torque.
I wouldn't want to make a mistake coming out of any corner with a crew like this out there. These are the top riders in America.
And while everybody's out there thinking that Robbie Peterson has... Oh!
Oh, Nick, did you see that? Kurt Hall lost the back of the bike there.
That's going to cost him. You bet, Keith. That is going to cost him down the back straightaway. You don't make a mistake like that exiting the corner and not pay for it. Here they come. They're just hounds after a bone. Robbie Peterson goes by. Mike Hart goes by. Kurt Hall is paying for the price of sliding that tire.
And Robbie Peterson has taken the lead. That must be the first time I think he's had the lead in a race, isn't it?
That is the first time he's had a lead in any race in Formula USA. But I'll tell you something. Kip and Quarterly are not letting these guys out of their sight. They made some distance on him in that lap.
You bet. Keep in mind, Tom Kip on a 750, Dale Quarterly also on a 750 are taking advantage of a bike's ability to turn quickly and brake hard. They may not have the fastest bikes, but they're really riding them through the corners.
Well, watch Robbie Peterson now, boy. He's reveling in these conditions. You know, this is a great opportunity for him on this 500cc bike.
It certainly is. I wonder if he knows how to lead a race. What do you think, Keith?
Well, he's leading it right now. He's not pulling away. He's holding sort of status quo, but Mike Harth is not really making any ground on him.
I agree. Before you folks think it's easy to ride one of these 500s, that Robbie Peterson should win this thing hands down, I'm sorry, it is not. We talked a little bit about torque. The 500 wants to spin. It wants to rev, and it's hard to ride. I've tried to ride one myself, and it's very difficult to ride one hard.
Well, there was Robbie Peterson pulling a mono over the top of that hill, and here comes Kurt Hall, not to be denied. Kurt Hall has taken up second place with a great pass.
Kurt Hall has gone after this entire weekend with a vengeance, and there he is getting back by George and Mike Harth, putting himself back into second position. He would like to be right up there with Robbie Peterson. I don't think he can hope to hold the draft because that 500 is about 10 miles an hour faster than those 1100s, even here.
I'm flabbergasted just because the 1100s are so fast. They're 100, honest to goodness, 180-mile-an-hour motorcycle, and Robbie Peterson is leaving them in the dust.
Well, stone the crows, what a race this is. Chopping and changing out in front, unbelievable stuff.
Keith, do you think Robbie Peterson is gone? Is this the end of the race?
Hard to tell right now, Nick. It looks like he's pulling away at a very, very conservative rate. He's not getting the bike loose in any of the turns. He doesn't look rough with the thing. He's actually treating it a lot like he would be treating a 250. Actually, I think a little more tenderly. I think I'd treat it a little more tenderly as well.
I've got to agree. He's got the only 500 GP bike in the country for sure. The bike is probably valued at well over $1 million all told. I think Robbie Peterson has in the back of his mind his team captain and crew chief, Chuck Axland, saying, hey, Robbie, let's not throw this one on the ground. Take it easy.
Well, he's got all the experience, hasn't he, Peterson? He was the South African champion.
Exactly. He's been on 500s before. He's been on superbikes. He's been on 250s. There's Scott Russell. I can't believe it.
Oh, my goodness, Scott Russell, this is astonishing.
He's moved up into 6th place. He's come from 36th to 6th. What a fantastic charge through the field.
Let's keep an eye on bike number 22, the Green Machine out there. Tom Kipp right there, bike number 16 in 4th place, is putting a move on Harth. He's sniffing right up Harth. And look, Russell got quarterly. The next on Russell's list is Tom Kipp, if he can catch that group.
Well, they call him Cyclone Scott Russell. Cyclone is the word. Look at him go.
Head down. He didn't even pull a wheelie going over the hill. He's got his weight forward. He wants miles per hour. He doesn't want to show anything to the fans. He's got some work to do. He's got some business to conduct.
Scott Russell down through the dip, pulls the front wheel off the ground a little bit. We'll have to take a look at that later on. Hard on the brakes in 11, slams it down, knee on the ground. He's right on the paint. He goes to the edge of the paint. He is riding hard. This is no Sunday ride for him. He wants to win.
Oh, that Kawasaki 750 is singing.
I agree. I don't think it's a 750. Keith, I think they've got a little more extra in there. What do you think?
No, we saw the bike go in the trailer after the last National at Willow Springs, and this is still a 750cc machine. Rob Muzzy, the owner of this machine, the owner of Team Muzzy Kawasaki, did not have any interest in going through the development work to make it go out there and run with an 1100. He said if it doesn't work as a 750, if Russell can't go out and smoke those guys, then we'll have to take second place.
I've just been told that Scott Russell has run a 125.4 lap, shattering the lap record by about a second. Astonishing.
Terrific. Good to see. Scott Russell's looking down at his bike occasionally. He may still have a little bit of a clutch oil seal problem that held him off the line.
That's true, but look how smooth he's running these low lap times. We can see clearly that he's catching the leaders, and he's catching them fast. He's right on the back of Kipp right now, so he's holding down, what, 5th position now?
5th position, exactly, and he's been moving steadily forward. Whether he can catch Kipp, and especially whether he can catch Peterson, remains to be seen, obviously. Pulling the front wheel.
Oh, look at that mono. Look out for Scott Russell.
Hey, folks, that's a 4th gear wheelie, up over 120 miles an hour. Not too many people can do that.
Two 750cc motorcycles chasing down a very fast 500, a very fast 1000, and a very fast 1100. Can Scott Russell get up there? It's hard to say, but his riding sure looks smooth, and he is catching everything. They're making distance on the leaders.
We've got to put a word in for Tom Kipp, the Wiseco Piston-sponsored man. This guy's only 21 years old. He's becoming one of the top riders in the country everywhere he goes. He's on his 750 OW01 Yamaha right now. I don't think he knows Russell's back there, but as soon as Russell pokes the nose in there, you know Kipp is going to turn it up. This is going to be a dogfight.
Back to the action out in front where Robbie Peterson continues to lead from Kurt Hurricane Hall, Mike Harth, Kipp, and Russell.
Race fans, we're seeing Formula USA action at its best. A 500 is leading on 1100, which is leading on 1000. Then we got a pair of 750s. Where in the world do you see this kind of action with these kind of motorcycles all running right at the lap record?
Oh, have a look at that. It looks like Tom Kipp had a look over the shoulder, saw Scotty Russell, and there goes Russell. A great pass on the outside.
That's one of Russell's favorite places to pass at the Road Atlanta track, going into turn 6, and he makes some good passes there.
You bet. Getting out of 7 for the long drive down the straight, Russell uses all the pavement and a little bit more, runs up onto the speed bump that the cars normally bounce up over the hump. He probably pull a wheelie right there. Big old wheelie, stays tucked in, doesn't even back off, doesn't even care that his front wheel's off the ground, runs down the line and slams it hard right down toward the hole.
And guess what? He sees the leaders. And you know Scott Russell, he'll go for it, and he's going for it right now. He's making ground on them, and he's making about a half a second a lap. So he's going to be there right on the tail end of that 1, 2, 3 leading pack in about a lap and a half.
I've got to tell you, Keith, when I saw him come out of the pits, 36 out of a 36 rider field, I pretty much counted Scott Russell out. I figured he'd get up into the top 10, but I've never seen a man charge like this. He has just bounced off people, gotten through people any way he can. The back end's been sliding. It's been wobbling all over the place. He doesn't care. His head's down behind the bubble, and right now, all he can see is Mike Harth, bike number 88. And Mike Harth, you better look out because Russell's coming.
There he is. He's in the frame with them, Michael.
Yep, that's Scotty Russell catching up to Mike Harth. I tell you what, there's some action out in front right now. I wonder if they know. Do they know what's going on behind them?
I've got to think the top riders have pit boards. They're getting told exactly what's going on. Russell takes a look over his shoulder, then takes a look down at this clutch to make sure not too much oil's coming out, I would imagine. He's still riding it very hard, so it must not make him too nervous. Right now, he's got one thing on his mind, get up into the podium, third place spot. It's kind of like throw it in the fence or get in the lead.
We're taking a look at his lap times, and he has definitely slowed considerably. He's slowed considerably for Scott Russell, but he's still making...
Oh, Mike Harth, oh boy, look at this guy go.
At this stage of the race, I can't help but think what would happen if Mike Smith was out there. His bike got clipped on the line, it fell over, he did not start the race.
Oh, Keith, excuse me, Scotty Russell has just taken Mike Harth and is now in third spot.
Beautiful pass.
Scott Russell up to a podium position, but to talk about a little bit more about Mike Smith's bad luck, we just got word that he is withdrawn from the 750 Suzuki Cup race. He won earlier. There was a problem in the technical teardown. He had the wrong exhaust cam in his motorcycle, so that hands the win to the Bakersfield Bullet, Tommy Lynch.
Okay, Nick, just have a look now. We've got Mike Harth's taken that spot back from Scotty Russell. Now, maybe there is a problem with that bike, and it's causing Scott Russell to slow down a bit.
What we just saw was a 1,000cc machine getting by a 750cc machine on the draft on the back straightaway. That was what that was.
And I'll tell you what else it was. The Georgia Bulldog, Mike Harth, he is tough. He won the Formula USA race here last year, the final GNF, and he's going to try to win it again. Mike Harth doesn't let anybody buy him without giving him a scrap.
Well, that's right. They call him Iron Man Mike Harth, don't they?
Exactly, and he's got his head down now. He knows Russell's there, and by goodness, by gosh, he wants to be the first Georgia rider across the line.
Well,
Russell got by him.
Scotty Russell's taken him.
I'm going to think Russell's going to make it stick this time. All he has to do is put enough distance on him in the infield to hold him off on the back straight. Hart's got a fast Yamaha, but Russell, I think, can sneak away from him this time.
Russell looks smooth. If that oil is getting on the back tire, it looks like he may be able to just get through the turns well enough. He's certainly catching Hall, and he's making ground on Peterson as well.
I've got to ask all you motorcycle riders out there, how many of you would hop on a motorcycle that was spraying oil and go 175 miles an hour? Keith, would you?
Well, I've done it before, Nick, and I suppose I'd do it again if I had that urge to go back racing. But right now, Scott Russell has got the urge. You can see that, a little front wheel off the ground. He sees Hall. Hall's out there in that 1100. He's not going to be easy to catch on the straightaway, but he will be easy to catch in the turns because Scott Russell has gone at this Road Atlanta track with a vengeance today, coming from 36th place, now sitting in third. And Robbie Peterson's right in front of him.
Well, fair dinkum. Scotty Russell is flat out like a lizard drinking at the moment, isn't he?
Exactly, and Peterson is up into lap traffic. Let's see how well Robbie Peterson can thread that 500 through there. Keep in mind the 500 steers a little bit lighter than either of the two bikes that are chasing him. So Robbie Peterson's going to have a good shot at it in traffic. He's probably going to get through pretty well.
And traffic is playing a part right now. Hall went into turn one right behind that lapper, and he's had a problem. He's got it wiggle in. Russell's going to try to thread the needle and get into the S's along with Hall, but he doesn't make it. Hall gets by the traffic. Russell's got to deal with it. Let's see what he does.
Right now, Russell's stuck behind Joe Brett Williams. He's the AFM #1. He goes very well down the infield, but Russell's got to find a way around him, and he did. Russell's now back on Hall.
Meantime, Robbie Peterson had a chance to get away. They were closing in on him. Let's see what's going to happen here. Russell's got to get by Hall in the next lap or two because I think Peterson's going to make his way through traffic and just not be able to be seen.
And if those guys get too slow in traffic, keep in mind Mike Hart's going to jump all over him. He's still charging hard. He's still pushing his Yamaha as fast as it can go.
But traffic is a two-edged sword, and Robbie Peterson is running into the same guys, and he's going to have this same problem that both Hall and Russell and everybody else in the field is having. In fact, he's going to see it first.
Well, once again, I'd just like to remind the viewers that Scotty Russell has come from stone motherless last at the grid and is now sitting in third spot.
Matter of fact, he started from the pit road. He started from the pit road because his bike wouldn't make the warm-up lap. It just wasn't ready. The mechanics were still working on it. Here he goes, takes a look up to the inside in turn 11. Kurt Hall slams the door on him, but Russell has some ideas now. He's measuring Kurt Hall. He's finding a way around him. I've got to think it's got to happen this lap or Peterson's going to be gone.
Well, I tell you what, we've seen some incredible racing all year in Formula USA, but they've saved the best to last.
Here he goes. That's it.
There goes Scotty Russell, takes Hall and sets out after Peterson. What a performance.
Russell has set himself on the grid, on the podium now, not in third place, in second place. And if I know Scott Russell, he's going to be looking for Robbie Peterson's first.
He's already, you bet, he's already yanked 10 bike lengths on Kurt Hall just in those 2 turns right there. Russell is turning this thing so hard. He's making this 750 look like a 250. He's riding it as hard as he can. You can see the front end move around over 5. Front wheel up off the ground over 5. He's pushing very hard, tucked in behind the bubble. He's got to get by a couple more lap traffic, and let's see if he can get Robbie Peterson.
We got a nice slow-mo replay of Scott Russell going down into the hole. You can see him right here, 177 miles an hour front wheel up in the air as he turns the bike. That is phenomenal.
Meanwhile, Robbie Peterson working his way through lap traffic. That's Brad Sawyer, bike number 14 ahead of him. Robbie Peterson's looking for a way around the 250. There he gets him finally right there up into turn 5. Robbie Peterson's riding this better and better with every lap, but here comes Scotty Russell.
Russell's less than 2 seconds behind him right now. He can see Peterson, he can taste Peterson, he can smell Peterson's exhaust, and he wants some of it.
You said it, Keith. Well, take a look over the shoulder of Robbie Peterson, because here comes Scott Russell.
A lot of you might be asking, where the heck is Rich Oliver, Robbie Peterson's Marlboro Yamaha teammate? Oliver was hurt in a race in Spain. He did very well in the first couple races. In the third race in Spain, he was hurt. He's not here, and only 1/500 showed up anyway, so Peterson got it.
Well, I tell you what, Nick, you certainly get the feeling that Robbie Peterson is out to prove a point today, isn't he, now that he's got this 500 cc GP bike?
He sure is. He's been back in the top 10, 5th through 10th place all year long, struggling on a 250, trying to beat all these guys down the straightaways on a very slow motorcycle. Now he's on a fast motorcycle. He's on par or even better. He's saying, okay, guys, follow me.
And he is, but look who's following him. Scott Russell. And he has attacked, again, this Road Atlanta track from the pit lane, last of last, going into there, as Michael said, motherless last, and he has got Robbie Peterson in his sights. He's riding that bike, he's riding it fast, he's still keeping up good lap times, and he's riding it smoothly. I'm surprised with the oil leak that he's got, which we could see actually going down onto the pipe and burning off. We're only speculating that there might be oil on his rear tire, but with the lap times that he's continuing to turn on, in right now towards the closing stages of this race, I think it's going to be traffic that gets him up there ahead of Robbie Peterson and not his machine.
Right. Keep in mind, Scott Russell has ridden this bike all year in nationals. He's very used to it. Robbie Peterson just hopped on his machine for this weekend. He rode it a little bit earlier, a couple weeks earlier, but he hasn't had any laps on it, probably under 100 laps on this machine. So it's kind of a regular against a novice. Let's see what happens.
We'll just have a look at the gap now. Russell's really closing up on Robbie Peterson out in front and lifting the front wheel, another mono.
Robbie Peterson, I think, has got a certain amount in reserve here, because that GP bike is very fast. We've seen it go down the back straightaway with other machines, and it just eats them up like a lawn sweeper. So he's always got that in reserve. If he has to race down to the line with Scott Russell, I think that the power is going to bring him through. He doesn't have to worry about the draft. He can power right around Russell and stuff him if he wants to.
Now you can get kitchens and bathrooms from...
Interesting point. Has Robbie Peterson really ridden this motorcycle hard yet? I don't think so. I think he's keeping an eye on his pit board. He'd like to have a 2-second lead all the time. When it gets a little bit shorter than that, he's going to turn it up, run it through there a little bit harder.
Well, it got a little shorter than that last lap, and it looks like Peterson is now trying to turn it up, but Russell has turned it up too. Russell's still looking down at his machine, still having a problem. We know it's leaking oil. We've seen the smoke come out of it. Now lappers are going to be coming into it. Let's take a look at the on-bike camera. Chuck Gray's out there on the track with the Superbike School camera. There's Robbie Peterson. Let's see how the 500 does against the 1100.
I tell you what, Keith, maybe Robbie Peterson's trying to get a bit of camera action there.
I don't think we'll ever be that close to a 500 GP bike. I hope you all enjoyed that. Russell's having some fun. What do you think, Keith? 4th gear wheelies, is that some fun?
I think he sees that there's going to be some problems here in the closing couple of laps of this event. He slowed down. His lap time on that last lap was considerably slower than he's run. I think he's actually run out of something. It's either tire or too wet a tire or something. You can see he's riding a little more conservatively. He's not pushing the bike so hard. He's not sliding it anywhere
And Keith, Robbie Peterson takes a look at the white flag. He's got 1 lap to go. And I tell you what, he must be feeling pretty excited right now. I think he knows he's got this one in the bag.
He still looks tucked in to me, but Scott Russell is nowhere to be seen on that front straightaway. It looks like Russell has definitely backed off. Let's take another look from the on-by camera. There's Chuck Graves going up the hill out of turn 1 into turn 2, and that's Scott Russell coming up behind him right now.
Well, let's just watch Robbie Peterson as he heads towards his first Formula USA win, and what a great win it's been too. Just before we have another look at Chuck Graves' on-bike camera and that shot of Scotty Russell.
Boy, I love the sound of that 500. Here's what it's like to lead Scott Russell, bike number 22, coming out of turn 5. Chuck Graves does a big wheelie. We take a look at the pavement. Scott Russell decides he's going to ride around in the camera and just take second place, bring this thing home.
I think you're right, Nick. I think Scott has definitely conceded that he is going to take second place. Robbie Peterson has got a good idea that he's taking first place. He's on the back straightaway. Nothing can touch him. He's on that 160 horsepower, 185-mile-an-hour machine, and he knows he's going to the winner's circle.
My hat is off to Robbie Peterson. He took a 500 CMC machine, brought it home, rode it very well, took it to the win. Robbie Peterson, congratulations, your first Formula USA win, and I hope it's not your last.
Well, we're looking at a very, very excited Robbie Peterson. He gave a little wave to the crowd there, and there's a mono as he comes down onto this final lap.
Hand off the handlebar. He's a happy boy. Al Wilcox gives him the checkered flag. He's all by himself. Here comes Scott Russell, just nursing it home. Ted and Chuck Graves with our camera bike. Thank you, Chuck. And Kurt Hall not that far behind for third.
A jubilant Robbie Peterson.
Let's go on to the winner's circle and see what the riders have to say.
The race went basically as I wanted. I knew the first couple of laps I'd have to take it a bit easy until the tyres came in. And then, you know, I kind of got away a little bit. Then I turned around and I saw number 22. I thought, oh, time to get going a little bit.
I know the last thing Kenny Roberts said to you, he patted you on the back and said, Robbie, if you drop that thing, I'll kill you. Is that some of the pressure that came in on you?
Not really. When I called him the other day and we were about 2 seconds off the pace, and I said, well, you know, I'm a bit scared to crash. He said, well, you've got spare fiberglass, haven't you?
It was down to the last minute. You know, I was sitting on pit road when they let them all go by and eased out on cold tires. And thank God for Dunlops. I mean, they worked the best, you know. And I can't say any more for them. And Kawasaki and Gary and Billy and all the crew did a great job. And Keith Cove with the school. All my sponsors, AGV. You know, it was a group effort, and this was our last race of the year. And it had to be my best, even though I didn't win it. You know, it was a good one.
You had people yelling for you. I know you've won races from the back row. Have you ever got on the podium from the pit road?
No, this is the first, and it feels really good.
Is this something you're going to adapt now with the strategy, stay in the pits until the race starts?
No, I don't think so. I need that warm-up lap.
I had problems with the number of pit boards on the pit wall, and I didn't see my board real clearly a couple times, and then all of a sudden I looked back one time coming out of 7, and there he was. I thought, holy cow, here we go. So there was a little bit. He snuck up on me, yeah, because I wasn't watching my pit board real good.
Our Motorcyclist Magazine Rider Spotlight Award goes to Robbie Peterson for his first Formula USA win and Scotty Russell for a sensational second placing.
The Smooth Move of the Week, brought to you by the American Motorcycle Institute, goes to Kurt Hall for his Dyson Pass with Mike Smith. And you can't take a nip out of me without me getting one back on you in the GSXR 1100 race. This is Keith Code. We really appreciate your support throughout the year for this Formula USA TV series. If you'd like to see it continue, please write us a card or a letter at the address on the screen right now. Some of you have sent letters in, and we appreciate that. We need more now for the sponsors. Please write us.